kitchen. I am going to be baking and doing some cooking today. I hope my internet keeps telling me not connected, not connected, not connected. It's just being aggravating lately. So I am going to make a cake. And then I'm going to make some chicken gravy. They do not go together. But these are for Sunday. And so I'm going to make some more stuff in the morning too. But these are the two things I'm making tonight. I was going to make the chicken tonight. Changed my mind. Decided it would be better if I make it in the morning. So I'm going to make a spice cake. So I am going to make a spice cake that we used to make. I'm going to go ahead and flip it around just so we can start here. They used to eat, actually, in school. When I was in school, this is a cake this is actually a duplicate recipe. It even says on the recipe, USDA school cafeteria spice cake squares. Okay, so this is like supposedly a duplicate recipe for that. So I'm going to start this. Now this is enough cake to make a gigantic cake because it's supposed to be feeding the kids in school. So I am actually cutting this down to 1/4 of the size. Otherwise, I would have enough cake to feed like 60 people or something. If y'all want to come over, everybody can come over. 60 people here would have enough cake. So no, I'm cutting it down to 1/4 because I'm not feeding a whole school. I'm feeding me and mom and dad. So I'm going to give you the recipe for 1/4 of this amount. And some of the amounts are kind of weird. So what I'm going to do here, let me see. I'm going to blend the flour, sugar, dry baking powder, salt. I'm looking here. Combine eggs, vanilla, and water. Okay, this is a really odd way they have you mix it. Okay, so they have you put the dry ingredients first. So it's going to take a cup of, or it's going to take some flour. Yep, flour's first. Okay, the flour is going to be 1 3/4 cups of flour. 1 3/4 cups plus a tablespoon. Yeah, I know that's a weird amount, but that's because I'm cutting this thing into 1/4 size. So 1 3/4 cups of flour. All right, let me find. Here's my 1 cup. I'm going to lighten my flour here. Oops, let me get that out too while I'm over here. All right, let me put you over here. There's my flour. So I'm going to like stir it with a whisk. This is how I always do flour, so it's not packed heavy. Rather than sift it, you can just, which takes forever, makes a big mess. Which I can make a mess without that too. But this is a way to you pack it. So there we go. Just kind of lighten up the flour. I'm going to get a knife too. I'm going to measure. This is a cup. Okay, are we back? I think we're back. Okay, looks like we're back. My internet, see, this fell off. My internet connection is not working well, and so I switched to the other. I was on the hotspot, and it didn't like that. So this is my internet, which, I don't know. I'm going to have to keep my eye on it because it's just not doing what it's supposed to do. So that's a cup. We're going to do 3/4. There's 1/4. Hope this goes. 2/4. It doesn't like this spot in my kitchen because it's dead corner or something. 3/4. Okay, then we're going to add a tablespoon. Yes, I know this is a weird amount, but it's because I'm cutting this recipe down to 1/4 of the size because I don't want to make enough for 120 people or something. So here's a tablespoon. Okay, so there's the flour. Then we're going to add my thing's a little crooked here too, but oh well. Okay, that's all the flour we need. Let's get this out of the way. Then we're going to add sugar. We're going to need a cup plus a tablespoon of sugar. I really don't know that tablespoon's mattering, but just going by the division of my measurements here. Okay, a cup of sugar. I'm leveling it off with my knife. We're going to put the sugar in with the flour. Yeah, this is the weirdest way to make a cake, but this is what I'm doing. So this is a school cake. Let me add the tablespoon. Supposedly is a duplicate recipe, or a copycat recipe, or maybe the exact recipe of a cake we used to have in school, the school cafeteria, and it's called spice cake. And they used to have it. I used to love this. It was one of my favorite desserts at school, and they would sprinkle powdered sugar on it. I don't know if you ever had that in your school, if they made that everywhere. I don't know. Probably. Well, I loved that. And one day, I had an aunt that she worked Okay, now we're going to put 1/8 of a cup, well, that's 2 tablespoons, of dry powdered milk. Yeah, I know it's a weird ingredient. That's what this is right here. But that's what's in here. So let me get this open. But I had an aunt that worked for several years in a school cafeteria. She later became a teacher's assistant, whatever they call that. But she originally started out working in the cafeteria in school. And she used to do a lot of the cooking and stuff. And I was talking about the rolls. Oh, they used to have such good rolls. Yeast rolls at school. And the cake, you know, oh, this was my favorite dessert. And she goes, I want to tell you something about that spice cake. And the thing is, I was already out of school, so it kind of didn't matter. So, let's see. Is that right? 1 cup, half a cup. No, it's not either. I need a 1/4 cup. I need 1 cup, half cup. I need a quarter. Oh, that is what I wrote. I just can't read it. It's a 1/4 cup of this dry milk. Okay, 1/4 cup. But, my aunt said, I want to tell you something about that spice cake you used to have in school. Because I was out of school by the time she was telling me this. I'm like, okay, what? She goes, you remember it had raisins in it? I'm like, yeah. Oh, that was so good. That spice cake with the raisins. She goes, those weren't raisins. I said, huh? They weren't raisins? She goes, no, they weren't raisins. We never told anybody that. I'm like, what was it? Do you know what they were? They were prunes. She goes, yeah, that wasn't raisin spice cake. Everybody thought it was raisin spice cake. This is the dry milk. It was prune spice cake. She goes, well, they were really good for you. But she said we would never tell anybody because we didn't think they'd eat it. So, yeah, that was prune spice cake. I'm like, oh, okay. But I said, well, you know, it was really good. But, you know, prunes are just dried plums. So if you like plums, you probably like that. Okay, then I'm going to do a tablespoon of baking powder. Baking powder. I'm going to do a tablespoon of that. Let me find, yep, that's the tablespoon of baking powder. That's also 3 teaspoons, if you'd rather do it that way. Tablespoon of baking powder. Whoops, I keep bumping my, oh, look at this. I keep knocking that down. Why do I keep knocking that down? Quit doing that. Okay. It's got a little piece broken off of it here, but it's had that broken off for a while. I don't know why all of a sudden it is going to fall down, but it is. Okay, so then we're going to add, let's make sure I'm doing this right. Flour, sugar, baking soda, salt. Okay, salt is next. We're going to add 3/8 of a teaspoon. I actually have a little 1/8 of a teaspoon measure. So that's 1/4 of a teaspoon and like 1/2 of a 1/4 of a teaspoon. If you don't have an 1/8 of a teaspoon measure, but I have an 1/8 of a measure. So that's what I'm doing. Of salt, 3/8 of a teaspoon of salt. That's like 3 pinches of salt. And then we're going to add 1 teaspoon and 1/8 of a teaspoon of cocoa. I didn't know it had cocoa in it, but apparently it does. So we're going to have, hi Michelle. We're going to add in, I didn't know spice cake had cocoa in it, but this one does. And it doesn't hardly have any. So we're going to add in a teaspoon of cocoa. I don't know why we bother with that, but okay. I'm just following the directions. Teaspoon of cocoa. I mean, seriously, are we going to taste that? Maybe they just wanted to make it brown. I don't know. And 1/8. Because I've cut this way down from a recipe, I've cut it down by 1/4. That's why I keep having these weird little measurements. I'm just dividing what they put. Okay, so then what are we going to do after this? We are going to do some cloves, ground cloves. You're going to have 3/16 of a teaspoon. Okay, yeah, that's not, I know that's not a lot. Okay, let me find this. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these. I love this little thing. So it has like 3 things here. It's called a smidgen, a pinch, and a dash. Have you ever seen these? Okay, the big one is actually 1/8 of a teaspoon. The middle one is 1/16 of a teaspoon. And the tiny one is 1/32 of a teaspoon. So, if I want 3/16 of a teaspoon, that's 3 of these. It's 3 of the middle one. If you don't know, just add 3 little pinches. It's 3/16 of cloves. It's not a lot of cloves. Cloves are really strong. So I'm going to put in 1 itty bitty. This is called 3 pinches. 2, 3 little pinches, and 3. See that one right there? It's upside down, and it's going to be backward for you, but it says pinch on there. If you can find one of these, oh, actually, it's not backward for you, is it? It only is if I have it flipped forward right now. Okay, so there's cloves. Next, we're going to add cinnamon. Okay, your cinnamon, you're going to have half a teaspoon of cinnamon. All right, let me see where I put that. Here it is. Smells good though, cloves do. Half a teaspoon, there we go, of cinnamon. At least we have a decent amount of that in there. There we go. Now this is made to make a fairly thin cake, I think too. It's not a real fat cake, it's pretty thin. Okay, then it says to mix these things together, so let's try this. Just all dry ingredients. Okay, there we go. All the dry ingredients are mixed together. Oh, let me go ahead and turn on my oven too. The oven, conventional oven, 375 degrees. Okay, 375. That's a little high for a cake, but that's okay. Well, that's what it says. I'm going to get all this out of the way. Next, we are going to combine eggs, vanilla, and water. Okay, so we're going to combine some stuff in a bowl, I guess. And let's get this. Oh, here, let's use this one. I think I can use this one. Okay, so it's just a measuring cup. Just going to use a measuring cup right there. And I'm going to need water. So I'm going to need 3/4 of a cup of water. Let's do 3/4 of a cup of water. There we go. I'm actually going to pour this through my strainer so it's good water. Strained water. Okay, there we go. Filtered. It's filtered water. So I'm going to add 2 eggs, 2 large eggs. Okay, so let me get that. Oops. I'm going to put them in this little measuring cup. You can hear, I don't know if you can hear my filter filtering. Here's egg number 2. These are room temperature eggs. They say you should bake with room temperature eggs, so I always try to remember to do that. Sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't. Okay, so there's the eggs. So let's mix that up. It says you're going to combine them, so we're going to mix. And you're going to mix this with the vanilla and the water. Okay, the vanilla, we're going to have 3/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla. Okay, here we go. Here's our vanilla. Let me find my 1/4 of a teaspoon, which is, dropping it here. Is that the 1/4 of a teaspoon? Yes, this one. Okay, 3/4 of a teaspoon. 1. I hope this is going to turn out. 2. That's a little extra, but that's okay. I don't think extra vanilla hurts at all. Okay, there you go. Now let me go get my water over here. Those are noisy. So noisy. Got my vanilla. All right, let me find my other measuring cup. So I can get my 3/4 of a cup of water. All right, there you go. That's pretty good right there. Let me see if I have that even. Okay, there we go. So we're going to add 3/4 of a, first I want to scramble these eggs good. 2 eggs, 3/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla, and 3/4 of a cup of water. Okay, so it says mix that together. Then you're going to add, now this tells you to use half a cup of shortening. I don't particularly want to use shortening, so I'm going to use butter. And you can add butter. This says add the shortening and about half of the liquid to the dry. Okay, so here's a half a stick of, or it's a, yeah, it's a full stick. It's a half a cup, which is a stick of softened butter. It says add half the liquid and the shortening or butter to the dry ingredients. This is kind of weird. I don't say this is not how I normally make cakes, but this is the directions. So we're going for it. You really want to make sure your butter's softened to do this. It's not going to mix well. Or you can use shortening if you want. Okay, it says about half of the liquid. Okay, so here we go. I don't think we have to measure. We just guess. Okay, there we go. Then we're going to turn that on. It says blend for 30 seconds on low. Okay. There we go. Then it actually says to beat for 6 minutes. I think that's a little excessive. Let's just beat it for a little bit. You don't really want to beat the flour that long. I'm like, whoa. Maybe if you were making that big batch for the entire school, maybe you would want to beat it that long. It smells really good. Then it says, add the remaining liquid, beat for 30 seconds and 2 minutes on medium. Okay, so we're going to add the remaining liquid. Then you're going to beat it a little bit to mix it. Ooh, yes, sloshy. I see why you don't add it all at once. Messy. I really don't think you need to beat it that long when it's just a little, household amount. Okay, so then we're going to add, it says to add 3/4 of a cup. Now you can use raisins, which you'd add, it says, or I guess you would add fewer raisins if you were doing raisins. I don't get that. But you would add, what, like a third? Just add a little bit less than 3/4 of a cup if it's raisins. But these are prunes, and it actually tells you to cook the prunes, but these are really soft. I see no reason to cook them, because you cook prunes to get them soft and plump, but they are already soft and really, super moist, like sticky. So I'm not going to cook them because they're not dry. They're not hard. If they're dry and hard, you need to kind of put some water in them and cook them. But yeah, I'm actually going to put the prunes in there because it was good. So there we go. We're mixing. Just pretend they're raisins. Mix it really well. There you go. Now it tells you you can add... Oh, I didn't reduce the amount of this because, okay, it would be 8 ounces for, okay, you can add 2 ounces of chopped nuts if you want to. I don't like nuts, and they never had nuts in it at school either. But, so I'm not doing nuts. I never liked nuts. So I'm just whipping that a little bit more. I'm just making sure they're not sticking together too bad. I probably could have chopped them more, but I think it'll be fine because they're really good. All right, so let's do... It says pour, wow, this tells you how to make so much, into each sheet pan. How many? For 50 servings, use 1 sheet pan. Yeah, I'm not making 50 servings. Okay, so I'm making 1 gallon and 3 cups into each, but that's if you're making the whole thing. Well, I'm just going to put it in, I'm going to put it in like this regular size. And hope that's good. It'll be a little bit of a thin cake, but it shows the picture of it. It is a thin cake. And I remember at school it was kind of thin, so we're going to go with this. We're going to just hope it works, but we will watch it and see how long it takes to bake. Okay, so I'm going to spray the bottom a little bit. You can do whatever you want with that. All right, so let's move and get my batter here. So now this does have a recipe on this page for icing, but it never had icing in school. It had powdered sugar sprinkled on top, and it was good. But I like that because it's not going to add many more calories. You can put icing on this, but then you're going to have a lot more calories too. So I figure you can have a little bit bigger piece if you just put a little powdered sugar on top. Or just have the regular size piece and fewer calories. Well, let me get all of it off of here. It's a little sticky. It looks like a nice batter. I hope it turns out good. I really do. So I'm going to put it in. It says it will bake 375 for 35 minutes. I don't know if it's going to take that long. Let's see how full it looks once I pour it in here. If it's really thin, it may take that long. Because they tell you to make it like in a sheet cake pan, which is like it's like a big cookie sheet. And I'm not baking it in that. I'm baking it in a regular pan. Because I'm not making that much. But let's see what we get. Move this out of the way. It's a real soft batter. It's not real heavy feeling or thick feeling at all. Really interesting. Okay, here we go. So let us take our pan, our bowl. Here we go. It's pretty. It looks like a real light chocolate, doesn't it? I'm going to pour it in here. It's almost kind of, almost not foamy, but kind of like that. All right, let's see what we get. This will be the first time I've ever made this. Hoping and praying that it turns out. But if you liked, particularly if you were in American school, I don't know if it's the same outside of America. But I know where I grew up in Florida, we had the spice cake in school as dessert all the time. And it was one of my favorite desserts. It was so good. My least favorite dessert that we had when I was in school was Jell-O. Blech. I don't like Jell-O. I never liked Jell-O. But the cake was good. All right, here we go. I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to say it is a little thin. I guess I could put it in a smaller pan. But it's meant to be a thin cake, so I'm just going to check it and see how it's doing. It has an awful lot of prunes in there. Of course, you don't want to call it prunes, just say it's dried plums. It is dried plums, that's what they are. So let's go ahead and finish all the batter. And let's just see how it puffs up. So it doesn't look too bad as far as the, filling this size pan. Okay, so we're going to put it in, and then we're going to let it bake. I am going to check it long before 35 minutes. And while it's baking, I'm going to make this gravy. So let's put it in here. Let's set it for 20 minutes and see what happens. Then I'll just peek at it. I think it's going to take longer than that, but I have no idea. Okay, there will be 20 minutes. Okay, here we go. Then let's move. Oh, sorry. Hold on. I'm dropping you. I got to move my plug. It didn't stretch that far. Okay, here's where I'm going over here. So I'm going to make some chicken gravy because I'm going to bake some chicken tomorrow. I'm going to have mashed potatoes and gravy. And I'm just baking some chicken tenderloin, so it's not like they're actually going to make gravy. So I looked up a recipe for chicken gravy, and so I'm just going to make some because I think gravy will work. It will taste better if you make it the night before. Some things taste better the night before, like cake. I think cake does too. It absorbs the flavors. So many things are better the night before. Some things are better the day of. So I'm doing the gravy the night before because I think it'll absorb flavors better. Okay, so I looked up this recipe for chicken gravy. Now, there's a couple ways to make chicken gravy. One, you can have butter or oil in the pan, add a little flour, make a roux, but it has more of a, I don't know, greasier taste that way to me. So I wanted to make more like a chicken broth gravy because I've made it out of the way before and I want to see what this is like. So here's what we're going to do. So you want some chicken broth. This is chicken stock. You can make homemade. If you want to make homemade, go ahead. But I'm not. I'm using this in the container. And I like the stock. It's a little stronger than the broth. So I'm going to put in here, so basically I'm adding this in a bunch of seasoning. It's not really going to be all that hard to make, I don't think. So I'm going to do, all right, let me see what I want here. Hold on. 1/4 cup. I don't think I want to add water. It tells you to add water. I'm going to add more broth. Okay, so I'm going to add 2 cups of this broth. I mean, what do I want to water it down for? Beats me. Okay, I'm not going to do that. It tells you to add water to cornstarch, but I'm like, why aren't we adding chicken broth to cornstarch? Why are we adding water? Okay, here's a cup. So let me go ahead and turn that on. And it takes 2 cups. Of course, you can make more, but this is the regular amount, I guess. Ooh, it's sloshing all over the place. Quit sloshing. Okay, here's 2 cups of chicken stock. And then it says a 1/4 cup of water, but like I said, I don't want water. No. Let's add more chicken stock. 1/4 cup of chicken stock, and that you don't want it to be hot. You want it to be cold or room temperature. So there's our 1/4 cup more of chicken stock. And then you're gonna add, you can either add a bouillon cube, which I don't really like those, or you can add this. This is a whole lot better. It's called Better Than Bouillon. They're not kidding. It's better than bouillon. So what is it? It is a, what is it? It's a paste. It is a chicken bouillon flavored paste. It is better. It tastes a whole lot better. And one of the reasons I don't like, I'm just making sure this is the same, that I don't like the bouillon cubes is most of the time they have MSG in them, monosodium glutamate, and that can cause migraines. This does not have MSG in it. So it is like a roast. This one's roasted chicken flavor. It's, if you've never tried this is pretty good. But it gives you a lot more flavor. It even tells you in this recipe this is an option to use. So you can either add a bouillon cube or a teaspoon of this called Better Than Bouillon. Just get to chicken flavor. I gotta open it here. I'm trying to break the seal. Okay, here you go. So see, it's a paste. It smells like chicken. Okay. Smells like chicken gravy. So I'm going to add, how much did I say? A teaspoon. Okay, let me get my teaspoon over here. Oh, do I have anything weird on the teaspoon? Yes, cinnamon. Let me get the cinnamon off. Hold on. Or did I have, was that cinnamon? Probably. Okay, so I'm going to add a teaspoon of this. Chicken, it's real concentrated chicken flavor. That's what it is. Okay, here we go. Come on, get out of there. But it is a lot better than a bouillon cube. And then you just put that jar in the refrigerator. It'll keep for a while anyway. Okay, there you go. I don't know that I hardly ever use bouillon cubes. I don't like those. They're too fakey tasting, but this is a lot better. Okay, so there's that. Then we are going to add, now this tells you to add a teaspoon of soy sauce. It says you won't actually taste soy sauce, but it will help with the flavor of the gravy. So, all right then. That's what we're going to do. Add a teaspoon of soy sauce. I bought a brand new soy sauce. If you want to use reduced sodium broth or reduced sodium soy sauce, you can do all that. It even said in the recipe you can do all the reduced sodium stuff if you want to. But I'm just using regular because I'm kind of salt fiend. You don't have to have that much. Okay, so then it's only a teaspoon. It's not like it's a lot, right? So then I'm going to do a teaspoon of onion powder. Let me get, what am I looking for? Here we go. I want this little flat whisk because I know I've got that bouillon stuff I need to make sure I get that off the bottom and stir it in. Let me smell this. Oh yeah, that smells good. Smells like chicken. Smells like chicken soup. Okay, so let us do, onion powder adds a lot of flavor. So this is just like, dried onion powder. So you want a teaspoon of that. My onion powder, it's like practically brand new. And it's already like, it's absorbing humidity and getting like, where it's stuck in here. Because it's humid. It's humid in the kitchen. So what did I say, a teaspoon of that? So it's sticking. And I'm like, man, I just bought this. Okay, here we go. It's going to be a little lumpy, but it'll work out. There we go. Teaspoon of onion powder. Now that's not onion salt. That's just onion powder. Then a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. If you don't want that, you can leave that out, I guess. But I don't have regular garlic powder, but I love this right here. It's garlic pepper. So that's going to add some pepper into my gravy. But I'm good with that. Now, it tells you to add a ½ teaspoon. I don't know if I want that much because my dad doesn't really like garlic much. And so I'm going to add a £1/4 teaspoon. And then we'll taste it. And we'll see if it's, I don't want it too garlicky. Because I don't want him to not like it. So this is garlic pepper mixed. So it's just a little bit. Okay, so then we're going to add a £1/4 teaspoon of thyme. Which, that is thyme. Dried thyme. £1/4 teaspoon of that. Thyme is really good with chicken. See, it just looks like little chopped grass or something. It's really good though. And then we're going to have £1/4 teaspoon of sage. And I'm telling you, I hardly ever use sage. But I have some. Sage. Sage is really strong. Smells really good. I have a little bit of onion powder that I spilled over here. I'll just put it in. Okay, so we're going to add only a £1/4 teaspoon of sage. Ooh, wants to take a ton. It's like a little dried leaf powder thing. Okay, there's a little sage. Okay, so then that's all the herbs. And of course, if you don't want any of those in there, just leave them out. I have no idea what it's going to taste like because I've not tasted it. So then let me see. Oh, actually, I didn't even print out the directions because there's not much to it. Add everything in, pretty much. Then you're going to take, I think, bring this to a boil. Let me smell it again. Oh, that smells so good with those spices. So then you're going to take the £1/4 cup of what says water, but I'm using broth. And you're going to add 3 tablespoons of cornstarch to thicken it. So let's add, here's my thing there, 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. Okay, here we go. Make sure it doesn't have anything else on here. 1. Oh, put it in there. 2. So have you ever made chicken gravy? And is it good? Do you like the chicken gravy? Have you ever made it like this? It'll be the first time I've made it like this. Very curious to see. I'm telling you, it smells really good. Let's do, I have a little teeny weeny tiny whisk. Look, isn't he cute? Little teeny weeny whisk. And then I'm going to whisk this. It says to put it in a jar and shake it, but I have a little tiny whisk, so I'm going to whisk it. And we're just about to boil. And when, oh man, those spices smell good. Alright, so let's do, I think that's really what's going to make this taste good. Stirring it up. This is called a slurry. And then when you get it boiling, you pour that in. And then, let's turn that down so I don't go a little crazy here. It's making giant bubbles. And there you got chicken gravy. Look at that. Ta-da! Doesn't that look good? Let's taste it. And you really only, cornstarch thickens almost instantly. If it's boiling, it's as thick as it's going to get. So you don't need to boil it for a while. Flour, you might need to boil for a minute or two to get the flour taste out. But from what I understand, cornstarch, once it reaches the boil, this is done. Okay, so let's get a little bit in the spoon. And it's going to be piping hot, so I'm going to let it sit there a minute. And I have it turned off, but it's still just going to town, boiling here. Look at that, still boiling. You would never know I turned it off. Okay, let me put this in here. So, you ever make chicken, but you always wish you had chicken gravy? There we go. Let's try it. Yeah, it's good. It's going to be really good. And I think definitely making that a day ahead is the best thing because those spices will absorb better into it. I like that. Now, you could add more garlic if you want. Personally, I don't need it to be that garlicky. So half the amount of garlic is good with me. So there we go. There is our gravy. I'm going to move it aside. I don't want to keep it on the burner. I want to take a little peek at our cake. It's only been 11 minutes, so I know it's not done. Oh, it's rising nicely. Okay. So I'll take a picture of the cake, and tomorrow I'm going to bake the chicken. Thank you. How are you doing, Heather? Do you transport it in a jar? I could. You know, I may do that. I just know we're going to have to well, if I heat it, I could put it in a mason jar. That would be so much easier because I have mason jars. So I'll heat it in the morning, and then maybe I will do that. Because then it's less likely to spill and won't take up as much room either as these pans. Hi, how are you doing? So there is my cake is in the oven. Oh, I didn't see what that said earlier. You love the smell of sage. Oh, I know. Smells so good. Am I missing any other comments? I don't think so. Okay, so there we go. Cake is in the oven. It is a spice cake. It is actually a spice cake that is a duplicate recipe, so they say. I assume they're correct. It is a duplicate recipe of the spice cake we used to have in the school cafeteria when we were kids. And which my aunt, who used to work in the school cafeteria, she worked there for a couple years, my mom's sister, before she became a teacher's assistant. But she worked in the cafeteria, and she told me, that's not raisin spice cake that you always had, is prune spice cake. She always saved jars for soup. Oh, that's a good idea. That's a really good idea. Yep, to give away soup and stuff. Yep. And then they can just keep the jar then. That's a good idea. But, so I'm making prune spice cake, but you could put raisins in it, but this is supposed to be a duplicate of the one in school, you know, where they sprinkled the powdered sugar on top. So I'm making the spice cake, and I made the gravy, and then tomorrow I'm going to bake chicken, and it's just chicken tenderloins that they bake real fast. I'm going to bake the chicken. I'm going to make a vegetable. I'm going to make mashed potatoes, or recycle them, exactly. The mashed potatoes, you know, are real fast and easy. And then I'm going to make if I don't get up too late, I'm going to try to make yeast rolls. The recipe with the egg in it. If you do the one with the egg in it, you don't have to knead it all day. It'll rise because of the egg. And the one without the egg I like better. It's a little lighter, but it's a little challenging too. So I'm making yeast rolls that have egg in the recipe, and then you just don't have to knead it very long. So I'm gonna do that. Like I said, if I don't oversleep, if I'm not too tired, I will get up. Whoa! Could you hear that? I don't know if you could hear that or not. Somebody went by in a motorcycle. My goodness, it sounded like it was right outside my window. It must have been just going down the road. It scared me. Sounded like it was coming right through my window. It's gone now, though. It was just loud. But I'm going to make all that tomorrow and in the morning. And so the yeast rolls I was going to make for Easter, but I ran out of eggs, so I couldn't make them. And I'm still hoping that they turn out. Hoping they turn out. I have no idea. So I haven't tried this recipe. But this is almost kind of like a school meal. Because, you know, they had the best rolls in school. They were the best rolls ever. Those rolls in school. And so was the spice cake. So, yeah, I don't know. Going back to my school days, some of the school food was horrible. But some of them wasn't too bad. The cake and the rolls were the best thing ever. So, oh, you know what I didn't do? Oh, I completely forgot to set it in the recipe. All right, let's put this back over here. It said to add a tablespoon of butter. Did I not write that down? Oh, yeah, I did. I'm just ignoring it. Okay. It does say that. So after you're done with all of the gravy, take it off the heat, which I did, which I've just now put it back, but take it off the heat and you add a tablespoon of cold, unsalted butter. Whoop! I didn't expect to make a mess like that. It splattered. Sorry about that. I guess I shouldn't have dropped it from quite so high above. So, I forgot the butter. It said it makes it silky and kind of creamy. So here we go, butter. Where is my, here it is. Get my little spatula here. See, it's in there. So you just got to get the butter to melt. Just a tablespoon of butter. And it's still piping hot. I wonder if I can actually tell the difference in the taste. That's a good question. Let's find out. There we go. I think it's melted now. All right, let's take a little taste again. I'm going to let it sit out, though, because I know it's hot. Trying to get enough on this spoon. I'm not making it. Here we go. Okay, let's let it sit there a minute. So this will be something kind of different, something interesting to have. Now, I am going to, before I go to bed, although I'm not going to do it on live because it will bore you. Sounds like a great Sunday dinner. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and peel the potatoes tonight to bake tomorrow. Now, not bake. I'm not going to bake them. I'm going to boil them and make mashed potatoes. You need to make the rolls for the gravy. Oh, I think you're so right. I'm going to have to make the rolls. Did you know that you can cut potatoes a day ahead? So what you do, if you're going to cook potatoes in the morning or whenever, you just peel and cut up your potatoes and put them in a pan of water, covered with water, put it in the refrigerator. As long as you've got them covered with water, they won't turn brown. The water might turn a little brown on top because some of the starch from the potatoes will rise to the top. So if it's exposed to the air, it'll turn brown. So if you cover the potatoes completely with water, you can keep them raw potatoes that are peeled and cut in the refrigerator covered with water. Then when you get them the next day, pour all that water off, put fresh water on and cook them, and you can peel and cut them the day before. I love that trick. So, and they don't turn brown. Let's try. I think I can slightly tell the difference with the butter. It does. It makes it real creamy. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and go. There's all I'm cooking for tonight. And I will put pictures and recipes and stuff in the comments. Time saver. Exactly. It is a time saver. So that way you don't have to do everything in, one day and wear yourself out in the morning. I like to do as much as I can the night before. Sweet dreams to you too. God bless you too. I will see you all in the morning for more cooking and makeup. Have a good night. Bye.